why I wanted to delete this. Not only because I had a super relaxed and lazy day yesterday, but the fact that I wanted to do some more information here because of this special episode is one of my favorite all-time superstars of all time, and the man's one of the greatest. He is, in fact, one of his nicknames, the best in the world. And you all may know him currently on AEW. He is the best in the world. He is Y2J. He is the Ayatollah of rock and roller. He is Chris Jericho, the one and only Chris Jericho. And I'm going to talk about one of his probably his most infamous years during the time of the tenure of the WWE, the year 2001. That's right. This full episode is about Chris Jericho in the year 2001 here. And I'm so excited to talk this episode because you go back in the year 2001, right? Ultimately, the defining year of the WWE, especially during the peak of the Attitude Era. Yeah, so many superstars making a name for themselves like Austin, Jericho, Benoit, The Rock, and someone like Booker T, Rob Van Dam. Even Shane Mance had a pretty good talent one year. But you got to really think about it though, and nobody has made more impact in one year in the company without people even realizing it. If you go back and watch it, the year 2001, and Chris Jericho, he's had some of his greatest matches during the year. From start to finish, he's had a very good start and a very strong finish in 2001. And of course, the people know already that Chris Jericho at the end of the year in 2001 was WWE's first ever undisputed champion. That's a huge accomplishment. So if you can say that you beat both The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night, back to back, you damn well deserve the accolade to be called like the first ever undisputed champion and the best in the world. No, that's unheard of. Nobody's ever done that before, in my opinion. You know. Let's get things started off here in the 2001 here. You had Chris Jericho coming into the year 2001 after defeating Kane at Armageddon the previous year, 2000, in a last man match. Hell of a match. He really tore the walls down. And, you look at the way Jericho defeated Kane that night with a stack of barrels in the Birmingham, Alabama Palace, for that event. So, pretty event here. Chris Jericho heading into year 2001, pretty strong here. His feud with Chris Benoit here was pretty, it was nonchalant. These guys have been feuding throughout the year 2000 way too long now. So, this is probably one of the final pay-per-view event matches that you'll see Benoit and Jericho here. And don't discredit me for mentioning Chris Benoit's episode. I really have to, because I'm only going to mention Chris Benoit throughout a good majority of this episode because of his programming with Jericho here. My mind, Chris Benoit was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time here. Of course, that Benoit story happened in '07. No need to bring that up here. But let's talk about Benoit's defining moments. Mainly his rivalry with Jeff Jericho here. You saw these two feud had, WrestleMania last year, Backlash, Judgment Day, the epic 2 out of 3 falls match at SummerSlam, and so on. Every time these two were to get into the ring here, I kid you not, you're gonna see a lot of technical wrestling here. A lot of the great aspects of wrestling here moves back and forth through counters, the reversals. It's like Jericho and Benoit are like lost cousins that know each other in the back of their heads, in and out. It's a pretty amazing here. You know, Jericho wanted to be the Continental Champion. Benoit was the current champion, of course, by knocking out Billy Gunn at December to become the champion. I think at Armageddon specifically. So, Benoit the champion. Chris Jericho wants that championship back one more time. Mind you, Chris Jericho's already two-time Intercontinental champion from a feud with China. And if you were Jericho, if you were Benoit last year. So it's pretty fitting here. So, what's one match that you think, out of all these guys have done to each other the previous year, can really make it stand out here a bit? You really got to think about it. And then Chris Jericho brought up the most insane idea that I thought this is perfect for a rivalry to end here. He brought up the ladder match. Yes, Benoit accepted it. We are going to have Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit at the Royal Rumble 2001 in a ladder match for the Championship. What a great way to kick off the entire one here. This is pretty amazing. When you watch that episode of SmackDown and you see the challenge laid out and accepted, you know that damn well you can't wait for Royal Rumble event. Remember, you've had matches like Triple H and Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. You had China versus Ivory for the Women's Championship. The WWE versus Edge and Christian for the Tag Team Championship. And including the Royal Rumble match itself. But you really got to be amazed that you're looking at that program. If you let's say if any fans at the time or head into your time want to go to a match, got that ticket, you look at that programming sheet. And then you see one of the matches on the undercard, Benoit Jericho ladder match for the IC title. That has about show stealing 5-star matchman all over it. I was only about, let's say, 7 years old at that time. But I remember watching this match specifically and so excited because I was a big fan of ladder matches, specifically from when, you know, the TLC match happened at SummerSlam 2000 between Edge, Christian, Hardy, and the Dudleys. You know that damn well this match is going to steal the show. Leading up to the event, we saw Benoit, use that ladder very heavily to try to wear down Jericho right before the War Room event here. We get to the War Room match here. Well, we get to, I'm sorry, not the match. The War Room event here. Pretty good way to kick off the event. I mean, you had the Dudley Boys beating, mind you, Dudley Boys went to that event concussed. Battle Edge and Chris for Tag Team Championships. They end up winning here. So, Dan was going a pretty good night here. I mean, the first match, new Tag Team Champions, the Dudley Boys. Concussed and all, yes, those damn Dudleys have won the Tag Team Champs that night. Now, to go right to the next match here, we got Chris Jericho coming out first here. Oh, mind you, I mean, going to this event is pretty surreal here. It really is. Looking at their history video package, you know damn well it's going to be show stealing. But yeah, first up, we got Chris Jericho coming out here, and then we got Chris Paul coming out right here. This is a very cool match here. I think the first 5 minutes of the match, if you go back and watch Jericho do a suicide dive, no, I think actually Benoit do the suicide dive. Chris Jericho connected Benoit on that chair mid-air as Chris Benoit was flying through the outside of the ring, through the second ropes, and Chris Jericho connects him with a steel chair. That was pretty brutal enough here. And then once another highlights matchup here, if you see, Chris Benoit setting up a ladder in the corner. Mind you, this is one of those big ladders. It's not one of those regular 10-foot tall ladders. It's probably 15 feet here. You go up, and you see Chris Benoit coming out with the headbutt, connected to Chris Jericho in the middle of the ring here. That's probably one of the highlight spots of that matchup there. Even you saw in this match, you had Chris Jericho pulling the walls Jericho to Chris Benoit on top of the ladder here. And I can imagine what you're thinking. You got Benoit's Brody, and this back contorted on top of that ladder, the very tip top of that ladder here. With Chris Jericho applying the walls Jericho, the Lion Tamer, he's called ECW in the 90s, But having that, and Chris Jericho finally knocked Benoit off the ladder, climbed the ladder, and wins the Intercontinental Championship for the third time in his career. This match will last 18 minutes, 4 seconds here, but you gotta really think about it. Like, that ladder match, from start to finish, those two guys tore each other up so much in that ladder match. You're thinking that it's only the first event, but this has the thing to be a match of the year candidate. This was one of the most amazing ladder matches I've seen in WWE's history. For one-on-one ladder match between two men that know each other out, inside and out, and can put on a performance like that in a ladder match. This is so surreal. This is really amazing. To me, at the time, ladder matches, there has been many ladder matches. This is probably the start of the ladder match revolution in the early 2000s here. Yeah, I really got to admit, this one was a classic and one for the record books. Chris Jericho defeating Benoit to become the new kind of champion. It's pretty surreal here. I enjoyed it. I really did here. Oh man, but celebration never continues, right? Let's look at something else that happened. At the beginning of the year. Chris Jericho, the new car champion. Of course, Benoit is gonna want to rematch the championship here. But this is pretty cool here because now you throw Eddie Guerrero into the mix, who also wants to become the kind of champion here. Eddie Guerrero, who hadn't wrestled as much. He missed Armageddon. He missed the War Rumble. Return back from action here. And now you got the returning X-Pac here. X-Pac, who had, taken a couple months here, also didn't participate in the War Rumble match here, but come back here. And this is so cool here. When the commissioner at the time, William Regal, announced for the February pay-per-view, WWF No Way Out, that Chris Jericho will be defending the championship in a fatal four-way matchup against Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and X-Pac here. You're thinking, wow, this right now is the future of the company. It really is. You look at these four guys, you think about it. X-Pac, who had been a big star in the 90s, continuing that big stardom in the year 2000, 2001. You look at Eddie Guerrero, who is a future Hall of Famer and a future world champion. And then you take it like Chris Benoit also, who also is future world champion as well, and you put them into the mix here. I think you're guaranteed to have that five-starter Fatal 4 match that, you're probably not going to see again. Because I think this is the only time I can remember that all four of these guys were in the ring at the same time. Like, it's pretty surreal. It really is. Like, you got to really appreciate the attention that, all these guys were receiving here. Really amazing here. It really is. And then, when you think about it, it's like, it's so surreal. It really is. So I like this matchup. It was a pretty good match to me, and didn't disappoint in any single way here. So yeah, but other than that, pretty good event here. I enjoyed it from start to finish, and think about it. Like I said, it was the only time again that you would see all these guys battling at the ring at the same time here. It's really surreal. It really is. So you know, even that like most matchup here at the time, you had even just incredible who was a spot that they have formed the X Factor group here. And like I said, a pretty amazing surreal here. You even had Benoit apply the triple crossface on that spot. Everybody trying to break up here. 'Cause I think Chris Jericho did suffer the most punch in this matchup here. But still, he wouldn't be denied. He really wouldn't be denied here. And, it's pretty amazing. You know, even one point in this matchup here, you've had, Benoit come in and do the flying headbutt on the grill here. It's amazing. You thought Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit mixing up in the ring here. Eddie Guerrero and Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, absolute classic here. It's pretty amazing. And then out of nowhere, you've had Chris Jericho roll up S-Pac with a crucifix pin or a small package of some sort, and then when that backbreaker and that Chris Jericho comes in and just pins S-Pac and retains the championship. Like this was a really good matchup here. You got to really think about the severity of this matchup. Really amazing matchup here between all four of these guys here. The match will last 12 minutes and 17 seconds. Then Chris Jericho rolling up S-Pac for the win and retaining his Intercontinental Championship. This is pretty cool. It really is. Yeah, man. It just made Chris Jericho's profile seem more, severity. It made him seem like he is probably one of the best Intercontinental champs we've seen in a while. Not to take any discredit from Chris Benoit, because Chris Benoit was a great Intercontinental champion. He really was. But Jericho, this is a reason why his Intercontinental runs are probably the biggest in his career. Because he took that championship and defying all odds and defended against anybody that he needed to defend the championship against and still came out the victor. No matter what he did, whether he was a good guy or a bad guy, he still went out there, did the job, and made that IC title prestigious at the time while being the belt holder, you know, or the championship holder in this case. So it's really amazing. It really is. I love this. I really do. Oh man. There's one of the things that came to switch here. This is probably one of the most, infamous rivalries that people have really forgotten about here. After No Way Out, yeah, Chris Jericho still reigning his Intercontinental Championship everywhere. Him now entering a feud with the WWF Commissioner at the time, William Regal, and no taking no credit for William Regal. William Regal, a former IC champ as well, a former King of the Ring. William Regal is probably one of the most best technical wrestlers to come out from the UK, and I know many people think it's there, but you think about it. William Regal is one of those guys. He's one of those great athletes to never become world champion as he should have been. This is just my opinion here. I kind of wished at one time William was a world champion and that'd be or even WCW, at the time. And it never happened. I kind of wish for because he was one of those great wrestlers. He was one of those wrestlers that could take a body limb and destroy it, however he may see possible. William is really that good, and many people will give William a not enough credit for not going after the bigger championships in his career. You know, and given opportunities that he should have been given a long time ago. So 20 years ago. So yeah, Larry Eagle is really that good. Go back and watch any of his matches, especially the matches. Let's see, matches when you sound six. Chris Benoit at No Mercy sound six is actually one of the good example here, or the one of him and Finlay from Great American Match '06. Really great technical matches. You know, really amazing. Or go back and watch him and Finlay from the WCW days. Really good matches back and forth between these two guys. Really amazing. But yeah, him into his program with, Louis Ringo here. It's actually pretty funny I bring this up though. Because he had let's see, a promo, a segment on Monday Night Raw in March of 2001 here, where Chris Jericho would probably do the most insane, disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's pretty funny. I gotta, bring this up here. He would pee in Ringo's tea while Ringo's guest was out the room, out the office of some sort. And, uh, thank God he didn't really show him. Thank God he had his back turned. But when we see Ringo come back to the office, Jericho leaves, does his exit, and him drinking that spoiled spot of tea? Spot of pee? See, I don't know. But yeah, drink that. And it's seen a look in his face, and ugh. I would never want people to go at that time. This is pretty disgusting. It really is. And then, I think it was also another episode of Raw. Actually, this is Raw right before WrestleMania. I think March 26, '01. The night where Shane McMahon had secretly bought WCW when Miss Man announced that he had purchased it, but really Shane McMahon had. You see an episode of Monday Night Raw where Ringo was going on against WWE Legend Hall of Famer Doink the Clown. And, for this one, for those that who don't know, I actually was a big Doink the Clown fan. He's pretty funny. I liked him when he was the but he was the evil clown in '93, but also eventually turned good, of course. But that evil clown, especially if you didn't spread hard at SummerSlam '93, one of my favorite matches. It really was. So, but yeah, like he went Doink the Clown, but when Doink the Clown seemingly used the walls of Jericho, I'm like, what? What's Doink the Clown using the walls of Jericho as he made where you can tap out too? That's the thing. And then when he pulled off that mask, it started that face paint on there. It really be Chris Jericho himself. So, and then I guess and Chris Jericho's where he really made an ass clown out of Roy Ringo at the time. So that was probably one of those great segments that you can relive and watch on the March 26th, 2001 episode of Monday Night Raw on the WWE Network. And it's pretty surreal here. It's pretty cool. And then we proceed to get to WrestleMania 17 and the Houston Astrodome there. Probably one of the best WrestleManias. Both underrated. People never really talk about the WrestleMania a lot. Except for the TLC matchup there. But there were also other matches at that time that were really good. You know, even the one that you know kicked off the event as well. You know, because you had Chris Jericho defending championship against that was the first opening match of WrestleMania 17, and even though Ringo had applied the Ringo stretch to the Chris Jericho did, Chris Jericho did lion salt to get Ringo pin him 1, 2, 3 in 7 minutes 8 seconds here. So people really don't like take credit to WrestleMania 17. Don't give it to the only match that had the fans on their feet the whole entire time, the TLC 2 match. But you gotta really think about it. All these undercard matches, including this one, Chris Jericho and Ringo for the IC title, it was a really good matchup. It was a short match, but it was still an intake match to kick off the event game. So, and plus, what hasn't been a pay per view that kicked off with Chris Jericho that ended up being a really good event? None, right? In my opinion, if you can have Chris Jericho kick off of an event here, even such as a WrestleMania, you're in for a pretty damn good show. In my opinion. Whether he's the first match or the main event, you're gonna get a pretty good show. Because Jericho time match is always excellent. This is his third straight time match at pay per view, and any time I won here. And again, he wins. He beats Puerto Rico. It seemed like Chris Jericho on pay per view at this time was pretty much untouchable. He was undefeated. So it's pretty amazing here to see how these two were feuding get together here. Oh man. Well, we'll take a short break here and we'll come back. We'll talk about what happened after WrestleMania here. As we will continue on here in a special match that we're commonly at the 2001 Backlash event. This is a weird match. I'm going to talk about this. So, I'll be right back, folks, and enjoy this ad from Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about the Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. The Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it's easy to be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you very much. All right, welcome back to this special full episode of the year of telling one revolving around Y2J himself, Chris Jericho. As you can see, Chris Jericho was on a roll. Chris Jericho was the defending champion at the time, defending against all odds here, so it's pretty amazing. Unfortunately, on an episode of Monday Night Raw, due to, I guess, Chris Jericho's taking his foot in his mouth so much that, when, at the time, you had the two-man power trip, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H here. And they usually got together the night after WrestleMania, where Chris Jericho had seemingly turned heel at WrestleMania, aligning himself with the man to win the WWE Championship from The Rock, and probably one of the most non-talked about WrestleMania main events ever in history. Next night Raw against Austin and The Rock would do the rematch inside the steel cage. Another decision made by Mr. Man himself. But you see Triple H come out here, you thinking that his feud from Austin was gonna turn the whole thing. He ended up turning heel himself, and well, I guess not turning. Triple H is still heel, but nonetheless, here, him having Austin retaining the championship and aligning himself with Austin and McMahon to form the power trip, the two-man power trip, I guess, in this way. So, because Jericho reigns off so much and ended up defending the championship against Triple H on that Monday Night Raw. I think the Raw after Mania, not the one right there, the week after. So Jericho ended up losing the contract to Triple H here, while Austin still being the WWF champion, and it just kind of sucked because I feel like Jericho, just had that chance to just take it off him just like that without any main reason or concern. So, nonetheless, here, we go right, still feuding with Whitney here, and again, it kind of sucked because at the time, big thing was gonna happen for Jericho no matter what. From what I've heard behind the scenes, that you know, WWF at the time was so confident for Jericho that he was going to be a megastar during the duration of the year Talent One. And for the company to put the trust in like that, that's pretty huge. Even though Austin was the current champion, but bigger things were in store for Y2J in Talent One here. But this is where I kind of felt like this is kind of like a rip on all of us here. They continue the Jericho women feud. Cool. It's a nice feud. They had a great match with Talent Team. Why not continue into Backlash? You know, and on I think it was the main Raw before the Backlash event here, Regal, of course, being the commissioner of WWF, still announced that he would face Jericho in a rematch at Backlash, but it's going to be a Duchess of Queensberry rules match. I'm thinking here, I'm like, what the hell is a Duchess of Queensberry rules match? And I'm trying to process in my head, like, it's going to be some kind of Duchess of a city called Queensberry, maybe in the UK or something like that? I don't know. Not maybe even a fan, not even Jim Ross himself had known what the hell type match this was. So we get to the Backlash event in Chicago at the Allstate Center, and keep in mind, this is also a pay-per-view that's not really talked about as much. But I remember just because of the Shane McMahon Big Show, after the match when Shane McMahon came off that whole Titantron and crashed his body onto Big Show that night and won the match. We even saw like the moment here where two-man power trip will take on Kane and the Undertaker for every championship in WWE. And one takes all tag team match. All the gold on the line that one match. So, but also you gotta remember this event for also the Chris Benoit Kurt Angle 2 out of 3 falls match too. You know, so it's pretty good. Not 2 out of 3 falls, the 30-minute Ultimate Submission match. Which is also one of the best matches that's ever happened in history, but not talked about as well. So, we get here. We have matches like where X Factor defeated Dudley Boys in a 6-man tag team match. Miami defeats Ravens to retain the Hardcore Championship. And then you get to the Duchess of Queensberry Rules match. As I stated, when Regal would come out here, announce the rules of this matchup here, Actually, no. Come think of it. He didn't really announce the rules. Actually, they just had it one on one here. But Chris Jericho went the Freeway Ring up by, I guess, could be a count out at first. But he changed the rules, told announcers that the match is no count out. They did the matchup again. They restarted. And we're going to qualify. Then he told us again, there's no qualifications matchup. So I'm like, okay, is he just making up the rules as we're going by here? Okay, it's kind of interesting here. What's going to happen now? Oh, mind you, this is where this is really gets weird. When I guess the Duchess of Queensberry comes into the building, I don't know if anybody noticed this, as they seen an uglier person. I gotta admit, I don't even know if this is a man or woman. You know, if if the wig I came off, I don't know, maybe I think maybe we'd be all in a huge surprise here. So that face, whatever the hell it was, on the Duchess of Queensberry that came out there and sat at ringside for this entire matchup, and I'm just looking at it, I'm thinking, is this really a man or woman? Is this really a real queen? Know how that at the time, anything's possible, I guess. So, but yeah, at the time, even when the match still going on, and it came in by submission. So I'm thinking, okay, got him by pinfall, that's it. But this is where funny gets, where Chris Jericho had put Winrigle's head in the lap, right directly in the lap of the Duchess of Queensberry. And Winrigle, the look on his face, that disgusting look there, I'm pretty sure that's the last place he want to be, in the lap between the legs of the Duchess of Queensberry. Don't know if it's a man or a woman, that look on his face could really say that's not really a woman. I think we all came real surprised that night there. But Ringo would eventually win the match up here with a pinfall victory over Chris Jericho. Because Chris Jericho's favorite streak did come to an end here. And won the match in 12 minutes and 34 seconds. But what would be a good night for Ringo would be a bad night for Duchess of Queensberry. As Chris Jericho will lock the walls Jericho on Duchess of Queensberry to at least, end that matchup there. So not very one of the most popular decisions here, but you know, worst come to worst, it happens. You know, thank God that was only one and only match. We can get rid of it in the history books. We don't talk about that match ever again. Let that match stay there at Backlash 01 20 years ago. So that was probably one of the matches. I thank God that they never did again. One and done. That's it. So for Chris Jericho, as far as his career goes, he was looking really strong here. Still on top of the mountain and still being one of the best in the world here. So it's pretty cool. That Dutch Supreme didn't really affect his career as much. So thank God for that. All right. And I don't know. I kind of, you know, nobody really talks about the UK events as much. Because throughout the early, like, let's say, 97 through 2002, I think, or 2003, WWE produced, one or two events a year in the UK that will not really be seen on United States pay-per-view broadcast, but will still be seen in the UK overnight as well because we have a big time difference here. So, we've had like these events here, and it's pretty cool. Not too bad, not too bad at all. So, we've had this pay-per-view right here called WF Insurrection. Maybe approved in the UK again. It happened on May 5th, 2001, from the Earl's Court Exhibit Centre in London, England. Full chance record 16,284 fans. This will probably be the first out of two UK pay-per-views throughout the year Talon won here. But it's pretty good man as well. Because nobody really noticed this, but Chris Jericho had a match. Again, a Freedom of Win Regal here for the Queen's Cup. I don't remember much about this matchup here, but I guess for the Queen's Cup, it's appropriate to have in England here. Chris Jericho would defeat Win Regal by submission to Walsh Jericho in 14 minutes 46 seconds here. Again, I didn't know what the Queen's Cup was, but again, it was pretty cool to see this type of matchup, so yeah, pretty cool. All right. So, that was match one done here, I guess, too. But, and it's pretty seemingly at this point, Chris Jericho was mainly focused on being the top star. Not probably the big star company, because that position right belongs to Austin, while Rock is well, had an injury storyline about currently filming the movie Scorpion King behind the scenes in his Hollywood career at the time. So Steve Austin was prime position and still was the top superstar of the company. But nonetheless, here, Chris Jericho tried to prove himself here, you know, especially going into the May Judgment Day pay per view event here, so it's pretty surreal. Chris Jericho was announced for the tag team tournament match to determine no contenders to face the other tag team champions, who were at the time Austin, Triple H, Tim, and Power Trip. And let me tell you this. I'm gonna take a break from this, but let me tell you how dominant Tim and Power Trip was. They were the Dead champion Austin, the current champion Triple H, and the tag team champions defeating Undertaker Can Backlash all at the same time. This is never heard of before. I swear, it's like if you're gonna tell Mr. Man, you're gonna have some gold or two or three, you know. So it's pretty crazy here. It really is. But then again, this is Austin Triple H. This is two of the best stars of the company at the time. So, what else you can expect here for those three men that hold all the major male championship belts in the company? No, nothing. That's Austin Triple H. They deserve to hold the champion called champion tag at the same time. But everybody's tired of it. So let's tag team wild match to determine no contender here. Chris Jericho's going to the event with a mystery partner. They never know who his partner was, so it's pretty surreal here. Mind you, earlier that match that happened, we had a 2 out of 3 falls match between Kurt and Chris Benoit. That the first match was pinfall only, the second fall was submissions only, and the third fall will be a ladder match for Kurt Angle's gold medals. The Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, sorry, excuse me. The Angle Benoit feud have been feuding for a long time now. So, this was the final match in their rivalry that would decide that here. You know, so it's pretty amazing here. It's pretty amazing. Of course, Kurt Angle won the first decision, pinfall only. Chris Benoit won the second decision, and Kurt Angle would win his gold medals again. Well, I guess never really lost in the first place, but winning back his gold medals in the ladder match here. And that match will be about 24 minutes entirely. So it's pretty good 2 out of 3 falls match. One of the best between Angle and Benoit. Of course, Chris Benoit was not a happy camper losing that huge matchup that night. He really wanted to win Kurt Angle's gold medals and stick around his face, I guess. So yeah. But, we had that title match here. Moving on here, we need to decide who's the number one contender for the tag team championships here. So, of course, we got the press people, the APA, you know, and they're dominant here. They went through Perry Saturn and Malenko, the first two teams. They went through the Dudley Boys. Evidently, they did lose to S-Pac and Just Incredible of S Factor, and they would defeat the Hardy Boys. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe X Factor is gonna become tag team contenders. But next we come out, Chris Jericho, and seemingly enough, this is where WWE throws that huge monkey wrench because they had Chris Jericho team up with a person they never thought Chris Jericho would team up with side by side as partners. Out comes Chris Benoit, who had competed in a match against Kurt Angle through stages. I guess I don't know. You can call 2 or 3 false regions of hell. It was kind of the same thing. But yeah, Chris Jericho come out and team with Jericho side by side. Who ever thought these two, after everything these two have went through in 2001, in the beginning of the 2001 year, team with each other? They would defeat the X Factor here, and then, you know, Edge and Christian comes the last team to come out here, and they will beat Edge and Christian to become number contender in 32 minutes and 9 seconds. This is pretty awesome here. Chris Jericho and Benoit teaming up. You thought those two going head to head, one on one, these amazing matches throughout the rivalry was really awesome. I think them becoming a tag team themselves would be a bigger deal. This is so surreal here. It really is. You gotta really appreciate the fact that WWE had pit two of the most amazing technical area wrestlers together side by side here. You know, this is pretty surreal here. You're not gonna get one of those. This is like one of those strange bedfellows match. Because remember the time when Kurt and Chris Paul teamed up to win the SmackDown Non-World Tag Team Championships in this town too, from Edge and Rey Mysterio. They didn't like each other, but they got along. This is kind of like the similar situation here for Jericho and Benoit here to team up with each other. Nobody expected it, but it happened. It's pretty damn cool. Right after Triple H though, because Triple H did lose the contest to the chain match. Evidently, Austin will retain his WWE championship against the Undertaker in no holds barred match, thanks to his partner Triple H here. But get this, this is where everything changed. The night after Judgment Day, and I actually watched this episode too a while ago, right before I started this podcast episode, and I'm thinking like May 21st. You go back to Monday Night episode, May 21st, 2001 here, and this match will be so damn important because a lot of variables happened in the match that would change pretty much what the entire year was going to be about here. It's so surreal because you had Austin and Triple H defending tag champs against the new no contenders, Chris Jericho in the main event here. And the main event, it would last about maybe some 15, 16 minutes here, but at the same time, there were a lot of things that happened in this matchup here that was so surreal for what was going to happen in the months and the years to come in the entire one here. It's pretty so surreal. First of all, you had Austin and Triple H come out first, make the entrance, and then Benoit and Jericho coming out here after them. And again, it's so surreal what happened throughout the entirety of this matchup here. It really is. Because you see Austin and Triple H dominate most of this matchup here. Considering that, even all four of these men went through hell this night. Chris Benoit the most probably because Benoit competed 2 matches tonight. That night, Judgment Day. Yeah, Chris Jericho going through that 30-minute tag team tournament matchup here. And you see these two guys working together as if they were best friends or something. Benoit and Jericho were really on the same page that night to the point where, all the mistakes that Austin and Triple H had made through each other that night, I guess that tag team continuity didn't work out to the fullest extent that night for them to really hold on to those WWE Tag Team Championship belts to the point where, you've had, you know, Chris Jericho will dominate the matchup here and get that, pinfall, I guess, on Benoit's part. That miscommunication from Triple H that really, do Austin in when he hits. Actually, no. Actually, let me wind back a little bit of this matchup here. We had Jericho apply the walls of Jericho on Steve Austin here, and then you had Triple H come in and what looked like he was going to break up the thing, which he did, but overstepping that left knee, which would be connected right to his quadricep, and tearing it apart that night while trying to save Austin and still trying to take the tag chance. He would tear his quadricep. And little known that an injury of a quadricep will take months and months to heal, almost an entire year to heal. Yeah, I think we pretty much Triple H really hurting that 99 matchup here. And, would not be seen for again for the state time one, sadly enough, Because again, I'm a big fan of, Triple H, Austin, even two-man partnership of the whole team. Triple H get hurt that night, it sucks. It was really bad, you know? And then even had the wall Jericho applied to him on top of the announce table too. That was hard bad enough. Oh man. I really don't know how in the hell freaking Triple H had the audacity to just walk after that. And, Chris Benoit dominating Austin there. And Chris Triple H tried to save Austin in that matchup. Miscommunication ended up hitting Austin with the thing. Benoit, I think Jericho and Lions saw and getting 1, 2, 3, beating Austin Triple H to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions. This is pretty cool. That night, it pretty much changed everything here. Not only Triple H loses the contract to the Judgment Day, loses that champ the next night on Raw. Austin, of course, still the WWF champion, which I'm pretty sure all that really matters to him. It's pretty surreal here. Benoit and Jericho, it just teamed up the night before, taking no contenders. The next night, already the tag team champions. This is so surreal here. It really is. You gotta really think about it in this aspect that Jericho and Benoit could have been one of the most underrated great tag teams of all time. Nothing in common, but except their wrestling moves and skill set. Really can be one of the greatest tag team or tag team champions at the time. It's really amazing here. It really is. Oh man. Well, that wouldn't really stop them because we had a lot of good moments between Jericho and Benoit that will continue here, and we'll talk about that right after this break and this ad from Anchor.fm. All right, welcome back to this full episode about the year of Jericho. That sounds really cool. Around the tip of my tongue. The year of Jericho in 2001. I gotta really add that in there. In 2001. Okay. But, nonetheless, we left off about Chris Jericho and Benoit becoming the tag team champs by defeating Triple H and Austin that night. Even though Triple H did get towards its quadricep in his left leg and will be out action for the next 8 months. Actually, the remainder of the whole year 2001, we do not see Triple H, and kind of sucks for what's going to happen throughout the year 2001. We really could have used Triple H as far as WWE goes. So, but injuries happen in the business, and just got to find a way to treat him. Unfortunately, that was a bad injury for Triple H. I think that was one of the first injuries there. That kept him on the action for a long period of time. So, evidently, the feud will still continue with Benoit and Jericho after Austin, and at least Mr. Man trying to at least make up for the fact there. But if you think that what Chris Jericho been through, that tag team turmoil, and that insane main event tag team matchup for the championships against Austin and the Game on the Man and Raw, this would continue into SmackDown later on that week on May 24th, 2001 here. That would set really high records there because to really punish them, Mr. Mario would make a once in a lifetime matchup for the first time on broadcast television. WWE SmackDown there. Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit will defend the tag team championships against three of the greatest tag team in history: Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, and the Hardy Boys in the first ever fatal four-way table, ladders, and chairs matchup in the main event. That is huge. People really talk about the matchup here, but SmackDown was the first, broadcast show to have a TLC matchup. On TV, not even on pay-per-view, just on regular broadcast television. This is crazy, you know. So this is a chance for Jericho and Benoit to really prove and step up, and that make them really think that they are one or can be one of the best tag teams at that time. This is so surreal here. It really is. Yeah, then we get to the show SmackDown there. And of course, you had the Dudley Boys, Edge West and Hardy Boys come out here, and Benoit Jericho here. Like this whole match, I guess the way they played out, it seems so surreal. It really did. Like, looking back at this matchup here, I think in my mind, it's probably one of the most underrated like episodes of SmackDown, but also one of the most underrated, TLC matches ever. If you think about the first TLC match, you think about the second one. This is only the third time that we see a TLC matchup here. So you can't really question the fact that, the WWE put into play this and Mr. Rich announced it. This is a really great once in a lifetime matchup here. Especially if you got the future star of WWE, all one matchup here for the tag team championships in a table and match here. You're gonna see a lot of carnage, but you're gonna see a lot of moments that people are gonna be talking about throughout the entire match. It's like really surreal here. It really is, you know. So evidently we get to the show, we get to the match specifically, and to really talk about the matchup here. This is so surreal because one of the actually key moments of this matchup here is where you have Benoit flying in midair. Well, you have, let's see, well, I think it was Matt Hardy that was placing the table outside the ring and during the rampway, actually. And see Chris Jericho flying off that top rope, top turnbuckle, and it crashing, because Matt Hardy did move, crashing his spine and abdomen first through the announce table here. And then, just seeing doctors just like taking him while carrying to the back here. I'm thinking, oh man, Chris Jericho by himself, there's no way he can defeat three of the greatest tag teams in history in their matchup. Mind you, because Jericho and Chris was not the first ladder match, but this is their first TLC match as a tag team. So it's like, Jesus Christ, oh man, what a week for these guys to come to an end. They lose have championships without one of the partners being involved here in the matchup too. So, you know, when you're looking at this matchup here, this is like so surreal. You have a spot where Jeff Hardy will run plus Buzz back, but Bubba Yellow just tosses the ladder and connects right to Jeff Hardy's face. This is so surreal. It really is. Oh man. Even before Benoit got is Domino session injured with that flying thing. We see both these guys dominate the match with these ladders. Especially when Benoit slams Bubba Deli onto the ladder here. Like, this is so surreal also. It really is. But I think for their job performance in their first season matchup, Jericho and Benoit did a pretty good job here. You know, Chris Jericho had to defend the match mostly on his own because first of all, I was taken to the back and getting, taped up or bandaged up, something like that, trying to get better, in a way. Of course, we know that, the masters of the TLC matchup, Edge and Christian, they were probably favorites to win considering they won at SummerSlam 2000 and WrestleMania 17 the month prior. So this is it's pretty cool here. I really like this match. Like, I wish that they would do more TLC matches on broadcast TV such as Raw, SmackDown. So it's just like it's pretty cool. It really is. In my opinion, it's probably one of the greatest ideas that we have done. From the Attitude Era at least. So yeah, it's like really really cool here. And then let's see. You had Chris Jericho apply the Walter Jericho again. Same thing he did to Benoit at War 2001. He would apply it, to I think Edge on top of the ladder, but instead it was back contorting there. You will see that Chris Jericho will do it the right way, with two ladders above the center, and just him standing on his back, bending Edge's back entirely, with the tag team championships hanging above the ring. Of course, Christian will break it up here, and then he puts Chris Jericho off the top of that ladder, right into the top turnbuckle on the left side of your screen, and ugh, this is one of those one of those bad falls in a regular TLC match or even ladder match ever that you will see from anybody here. You Ugh. Of course, the Dudley Boys and Hardy Boys will still prevent Edge Christian from winning matches like they did the previous two times here. So kudos to the Dudley and Hardys for working hard to still provide us great women's matchup here. And even one moment you see here where Bubba Ray will suplex Jeff Hardy on top of the ladder all the way over Sunset Way, and just having a hard crash up here. It really is. Oh man, let's see what else happened. We had at one point, a ladder brought out to the outside of the ring here, and we had Jeff Hardy do that same leg drop out top of that ladder, right through Bubba, through the announce table. Even Chris Benoit, who is injured, but did not want Sweet to end. This is the bravery on Chris Benoit part. This is why I think, in my mind, Chris Benoit is one of the most toughest SLBs to ever step in the WWE ring. If you can have broken ribs or injured ribs come back, one of the most dangerous matches of all time, a ladder match, or a TLC match in this case, still try to find his way to hold on to his and Jericho's tag team championships here. Here in the spot, he's fighting off Edge Christian by himself, 2-on-1 beatdown here. Of course, Edge goes outside the ring and, will get the steel chairs, bring him inside the ring here, hand on to his best friend Christian here. And I think what's coming as the famous concertos here, to they've been doing to everybody, to heads and stuff here. And instead of going out the head, they attack Benoit's ribs inside from the left and the right side. Excruciating pain. This is one of the most excruciating pain Benoit's ever been in his entire life here. And it would still come back after all that. This is crazy. It really is. Like, I don't imagine a tougher athlete in a type match like this than Chris Benoit ever. Like, this is so surreal here. It really is. Like, this is what makes Jericho Benoit one of the most tenacious tag teams during that time to the Attitude Era in the Sound One. Because literally just going to do anything to win the match. And they really did anything they could to win the matchup here. Like, this is so surreal. It really is. I love the performance of Benoit Jericho the most out of any tag team matchup here. Really crazy. Like, you'll see at one point, Chris Jericho's climbing the ladder and probably on the opposite wrong spot. Edge on another ladder here. Like Edge did to Jeff Hardy at WrestleMania 17. Edge would spin Chris Jericho midair off the top of both those ladders and crash into the ring in center of the ring there. And it's pretty amazing. Chris Jericho take that spot, being speared by Edge off that ladder. Kind of almost similar to what Jeff Hardy had done at WrestleMania 17. Like, it's pretty surreal. It really is. Like, I love this match start to finish here. Yeah, Chris Benoit still South Carolina, even though how bad and bruised he is. And strangely enough, he's the one. Chris Benoit's the one that pulled down both the belts for him and Jericho to retain it here. Pretty damn surreal. Jericho Benoit's still your tag team champions. And one of the most talked about underrated TLC matches ever on broadcast television in SmackDown's history. Like, this is pretty amazing here. It really is. Oh man. But now this was set up for a neighbor Rebellion match. We have the WWF King of the Ring pay-per-view looming in the background here, on the way to Eastwood, New Jersey, on June 24th, 2001 here. And this is so surreal here. This is really surreal. Because this man, well, I think was pretty much tired of protecting Austin in a way that would seem Austin look weak, that he needed Mr. Man, to help him do this and do that here. But I know this is pretty much McMahon's revenge of some sort or what. But one of the most famous King of the Ring since 1998 that would happen in 2001 here. The match will be the main event of Austin defending the WWF Championship against both Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho in a shoulder matchup here. This is the same thing here. There have been rumors rushed out here because Mr. Shane Man had bought WCW. Shane Man was prepared to go to King of the Ring against Kurt Angle in that street fight, which is probably the best match of the night. The best match. You gotta watch. Okay, let me tell you this, folks. If you're gonna watch the Italian King of the Ring, watch it specifically for the Shane McMahon Kurt Angle street fight. Probably the greatest street fight in WWE's history. Those two men tore each other up that matchup. Like, that's probably the best match Shane Man's career. King of the Ring 01 that street fight. Always gonna be talked about. Always gonna be probably the top one street fight match in WWE's history. But also, you got other good matches. You got Edge win the King of the Ring that year. The famous Undertaker DDP segment, and then you got the championship matchup between Angle, Benoit, and Austin. Terrific matchup here. But there have been rumors, throughout this night that even though, Angle and Benoit still tag team champions, they said no matter who wins it, they still wanted to bring the championship into their fold, their tag team regime. So this is pretty surreal here. This is a really, really bad thing. And Mr. Man said that he would not come to King Ring to show up and help Austin, that Austin would have to, in fact, do this on his very own. You're going to be against Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, you're going to be in for a fight, especially if your WWE Championship belt is hanging in the way as well. So surreal here. But the rumors that haven't thought out that Shane Man did talk to both Angle and Benoit and tried to have them defect over the WCW, even though if possibly one of them could capture the WWE Championship and make it the WCW Championship, I guess reincarnated to the WCW Championship. This is pretty cool. This is one of the most interesting. Really make you think like, is Benoit or Jericho or both gonna really defect to WCW while taking the championship? Now it's gonna really want to make you think that maybe it's a good thing maybe Austin to keep the belt. You gotta love Jericho and Benoit so much from what they've done this past month in May, but you gotta really think like, hmm, are they really gonna defect the WCW with the championship, make it WCW championship? Like, no, they can't be that posturous. But it gotta make you think again, like anything can happen in the WWE. This was a really good storyline. I loved it here. So you really start to see WWE starting to plant little seeds for WCW to come in the fold here. So this is pretty damn interesting. It really is. And for the fact that, you ever had guys like Booker T who showed up in the garden, you know, actually no, let's talk about this next time Raw. Let's not talk about that yet. But you get to King Ring here. Yeah, Benoit and Jericho here coming in and Austin coming out here. Austin kept on looking for the back to see Mr. Man was gonna follow him. Still no Mr. Man here. And this is pretty damn surreal here. That just made him show up that match up here, which probably be one of the greatest show up matches that nobody remembers that much or even cares to bring up nowadays. But this is pretty surreal here. Because, you've had all these guys fighting for each other here. Sadly enough, though, Austin did retain the championship, by beating Chris Benoit here. But the thing is that Chris Benoit will eventually tore his neck in this matchup and will be out of action for the full year of Talon 1 and the better half of Talon 2. So it kind of sucks for Chris Benoit to really get into this matchup. Kind of Triple H did, so it kind of sucks. At the time we lost Triple H, then lost Chris Benoit a month later. So now it's got to for Austin and Jericho to really take lead of the company, beat those top stars of the company here. So yeah, but Austin never retain champion. Even though we saw interference from WCW's Booker T, that would try to take out Austin. Austin still managed to escape the King of the Ring. I guess, yeah, that's probably to say. Escape the King of the Ring was still his WWE championship lingering here. So, and not a bad matchup here for King of the Ring here. But that's not Raw. We did see Austin, Angle, because now you bring Carnival to the fold here. Carnival at least trying to be a good guy. I think this Carnival changed into a babyface here, aside from him being a heel. Especially from his Bruce match with Shane Man. Carnival did win that streak fight with Shane Man there at King of the Ring. And now, into the program with Austin here. Jericho still being Jericho, still trying to do the best in the world. Because Jericho was still tag champ, but taking, even though, him, they lose tag championships. I forgot to mention this. Prince Mark Jericho did lose tag championships before King of the Ring there. I think to the Dudley Boys, I presume. So, kind of bad break for Benoit Jericho. Aside from Benoit getting injured at the King of the Ring and having to have neck surgery, be out for a full year. So that kind of sucks. So, Chris Jericho's still doing his thing there, but the one of the key aspects is Monday Night Raw after King of the Ring, that it was in Madison Square Garden, New York City. Booker T's the WWE's warning, Sheamus being warned by his father Vince. Well, one of his father Vince that WCW superstars weren't going to start showing up there. You had Mike Awesome come in and win the Hardcore Championship. Mike Awesome being the first WWE superstar to come in and win a WWE Championship. That's where really the war started coming in between WWE and WCW there. Booker T shows up in MSG and lays out Mr. Man himself, firing the first shot, which probably he started the whole invasion angle here. So it's pretty surreal. You had Mike Austin Hawk Championship. DDP also shows up, continues right with the Undertaker. You have Booker T, who is the WCW champion, show up and just convince the man while Angle and Austin are looking for Booker T outside Dead of New York, the restaurant at the time when WWE they rent that place every week to have fans there to watch the weekly program shows Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-view events. So this is pretty surreal here. Like WCW have really fighting for a shot here. So now for Jericho to really step up and be one of the top stars of the company and really represent his business while trying to be the best in the world here. So it was pretty surreal. And you had times where you had, you know, WCW superstars that come in and wrestle WWF in these once in a lifetime matches, which is pretty cool. Because you really see a lot of good matches there, between like WCW and WWE at the time. So again, this is pretty so surreal here. It really is. I think that'll come with some Raw where, you know, I think we had like stars like Austin, Angle, Jericho, Kane, and the Undertaker here. We're about to fight the system. So more of these superstars like the Dudley Boys, Rhino, etc., just Incredible S-Pac and all that. We're gonna team up with them and fight these WWE superstars. Like DDP, um, Booker T, and the rest of contingency. We see those same superstars turn on Austin, Jericho, Angle, Kenny Undertaker, and fight them. Paul Heyman gets up from his chair, announces that ECW has now been revived, and team up with WCW to try to take out the WWE. And that unholy alliance, they bring up the new leader of ECW, Stephanie McMahon Helmsley, who we had seen on TV for months since her feud with Trish Stratus before WrestleMania, come out and announce herself as the new owner of the ECW. But she made the owner of WCW and then ECW here. This is an unholy alliance right here. It really is. It's unbelievable. Two wrestling companies who were almost as big as WWE, who had been out of business for quite some time now, had come back and wanted to start this invasion angle. To the point where Mr. Man, Mr. Man and Shane McMahon now had come to agreement to have an inaugural brawl. Mind you, this is none people knows. The pay-per-view of July time was supposed to be the fourth full-load pay-per-view event. But WWE had run that direction and changed the entire pay-per-view event to call WWF Invasion, just to surround the whole WWE, WCW, ECW feud going on at that time. they announced the inaugural Brawl that Austin, the W Championship, will team with Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle and the Brothers of Destruction, Kane the Undertaker, to go up in their first time ever match against the team of Buck T, the WWE Champion, the Dudley Boys, the Tag Team Champions, Diamond Dallas Page, and Rhino, with Shane McMahon and Stephanie and Paul Heyman in their corner. This is also raw. This is really starting where the things got picked up here. So we get to the Invasion pay-per-view event. We see that these two teams were going head to head here. And it's not a matchup here. You gotta really like the introductions and entrances of both these teams right here. Even Smith came out to support Dave in his corner. It's pretty cool. This is where the really once lifetime matches that you thought you'd never see what happened here. And it's amazing. It really is. And last matchup here, we saw Jericho take a bump where he would take Rhino's and spear Rhino against 3-0 but that's just all started this whole Rhino Jericho feud, which probably is also an underrated feud. Heck, I love Rhino. I was a big Rhino fan. Watching ECW, I was always a big Rhino fan. He was the last television champion of the ECW, so that's a compliment Rhino was going to have forever in his career. And then you actually see the turning of Austin turning heel. Some turning go gets Booker T gets the win and aligns himself as the championship, but with the alliance of WCW ECW. Probably one of the most greater heel turns in WWE's history that nobody's ever talked about, but they really got to bring it up, mention it, because nobody expected Austin to turn on WWE by aligning himself with the WCW ECW alliance that night. It helping them gain victory in the first ever inaugural Brawl. So this is pretty crazy here. But things didn't look on for Jericho. Things will continue to come up no matter what. This is where at the point where after the Invasion pay-per-view heading towards SummerSlam that Chris Jericho was on the verge of becoming one of the top stars of the company here. When we come back, we'll talk about that, Chris Jericho's rivalry with Rhino throughout SummerSlam, and heading on as, big things are going to happen in the WWE. All right, welcome back to a special full episode of Y2J 2001 on the God Have Heart Wrestling Podcast by yours truly, Jamal Honus. And, like I said, looking back at that beginning of the invasion angle with Austin turns that company, it was a really significant deal. And to the point where, like I said, they were going to make Chris Jericho really step up from being a top star here. And mainly his feud with Rhino. Rhino, as you know, everybody, is a former ECW champion, the last ever ECW television champion. So it's pretty amazing here what Rhino can do. A former hardcore champ as well earlier this year. So now we took both those two to the mix here. Stephanie Man really wanted to show Jericho what she was made of. And to do that, you get ECW's most destructive human being and monster alive, and that is the man beast Rhino. Gore, gore, gore. Those three devastating words. You always gotta watch out for that gore. That could really tear you up. If you think Edge Spear or something, that gore is another thing coming to you. And these two guys did feud throughout the weeks heading to SummerSlam here. And even, after the point, before SummerSlam, where they had this interesting segment where Rhino and Jericho were up at the far top of the entranceway, the stage here, with the old SmackDown set. Remember, this is the first SmackDown set that they would choose back in 1999 that they had for 2 years. Rhino would evidently gore Jericho through the SmackDown set, taking the whole thing down. And if you really don't know, that's why SmackDown went with the fist entrance set. The new entire SmackDown set with a giant fist going through a piece of glass. So that's the reason why. So the entrance Jericho Rhino, we had that fist entrance set of SmackDown that we will see for the next several years. So, which evidently is one of my favorite SmackDown sets of all time. That SmackDown set is pretty cool. Believe it or not, that SmackDown set is pretty badass. So, kind of got to thank Jericho Rhino for that. So, yeah. All right, we going to some here on Sunday, August 19th, 2001, from the Compact Center at San Jose, California, with this record of 15,293 fans here. But before we do this, though, I do want to train attention that even though it seemed like WWE was really down and out here, they really needed a guy, a megastar, somebody to help fight along the lines that they did lose Austin and lose WWE champion. So it seemed like WWE had no clear-cut leader to really help them with this fight during the invasion. They bring back The Rock on July 31st, 2001 here. Even though we did not know which side The Rock was going to be on, the WWE or the Alliance. But thank God, even though The Rock had been screwed by Mr. Man from time to time at WrestleMania and the night after WrestleMania, we would see that Hollywood ass kicking The Rock choose the WWE over the Alliance and making sure that WWE was his home. And evidently uniting his feud against WWE champion Booker T. That he would eventually defeat Booker T in the main event of SummerSlam 2001 to capture the WWE Championship and bring the WWE Championship to WWE. So it's pretty crazy. You got world title belts in opposite companies here. It's pretty interesting to see what WWE was going to go down from here. But evidently, on the side of Chris Jericho's feud with Rhino, they have this amazing one-on-one matchup at SummerSlam here to culminate their rivalry here. And it seemed like Rhino really dominated most of his matchup here, but it'll be Chris Jericho making Rhino tap out to the sharpshooter in 12 minutes and 34 seconds here. So, really the matchup here. But even though Stephanie really tried to get the best of Jericho by sending the vicious man beast Rhino after him, Jericho will still come up and still, be horrendous with his very victory here. So, kudos to Jericho by getting the win for WWE at this event here. So, it's pretty amazing. Anyway, after this rivalry, at SummerSlam, Chris Jericho will start a feud with the new hardcore champion Rob Van Dam. Let me tell you this much. As popular as Rob Van Dam was in ECW during his tenure, Rob Van Dam, RBD, would become even more popular when he stepped foot in WWE that year and started feuding with Jeff Hardy. I mean, if you still see the match at Invasion SummerSlam, that amazing hardcore match between RBD and Jeff Hardy, which RBD won the hardcore championship, and will defend it and lose it, and end up winning from Jeff Hardy in that hardcore ladder match at SummerSlam also, would really put Hardy as one of the most popular superstars on the map here. Even after SummerSlam, I think a week or two after SummerSlam, he would eventually challenge Austin for the championship. And even though he did not win that night, but RVD did pick up the victory, not win the championship, but at least Robin could say in his career he had defeated the WWE champion Stone Cold Steve Austin on an episode of SmackDown. That's pretty damn huge in my opinion here. But, see, if you got like Chris Jericho, you're going to want to take out one of the popular top stars on the lines, and that's Rob Van Dam here. These two evidently would have a match at the WWF Unfilmed pay-per-view event, in which it was a couple weeks past when the terrorist attack on the New York City Twin Towers at the time, on September 11th, 2001. They had that special, you know, segment, the 9/11 tribute show on SmackDown that time. And it's probably one of the saddest things you can ever see. Even though if you're not from New York or New Yorker, you wouldn't want that act to be, portrayed on anybody within the United States of America. It's sad, it really is. And if you didn't know at the time, the WWE were the first assembly of its size publicly to acknowledge the 9/11 event out of any sports organization or entertainment organization in the whole entire world. So kudos to WWE for doing that and giving us a show that to remember, just to take our minds off what happened in New York City on September 11th with the Twin Towers. It's such a battle there. So we get to the Unforgiven pay-per-view here with 13,855 fans for the Miller Arena in Pittsburgh, PA, on September 23rd, 2001 here. And Chris Jericho would challenge, Robin and Dan for the Hardcore Championship here. Even though Chris Jericho did not win, RBD got the win with the 5-star Frost Splash on that ladder in 16 minutes and 33 seconds here. It's pretty interesting. Every time you have a Robin and Dan Jericho feud, you're gonna see two different types of contrast wrestling here. Jericho technician and showbell here, and then you got RBD the high flying, acrobat and the striker part there, and it's like especially with Ari's legs, the striking part ability. Two different contrasting styles of wrestling here, so it's pretty interesting. Every time you see these two going on, you're gonna see a little bit of everything when it comes to wrestling this matchup here. So it's pretty interesting here. Again, me being an RVD fan, being a Jericho fan, and still to this very day Jericho fan, and seeing those two going on one, I think that was probably one of the first big time matchups between the two here. It didn't disappoint. It was actually a pretty good matchup here. But problems were lingering in themselves. Coming on the field, The Rock had defeated Booker T and Shane Man in a handicap match to retain the championship here. But Jericho really felt like at the time, those are not jealous on his part, but he really wanted to step up and be the leader. And by being leader, to be the champion. At this time, The Rock being WWE champion was technically the leader of the locker room that would be fighting against the Invasion era. Jericho was upset about that and pretty jealous, I preserve, and he wanted to be the top dog. Even though these two guys in WWE, Chris Jericho challenged The Rock to the WWE Championship at the 2001 No Mercy pay-per-view event in October of 2001 here. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite Jericho matches. Only because you got him and The Rock battling one-on-one here. This is not the first time, the two had a big time matchup here, but it's pretty interesting. Because at the time, Jericho and The Rock was so popular that every time they got on the mic, you're gonna want to hear what they had to say. This is two of the best trash talkers as far as WWE goes. And going against each other, well, let's just say they would have a war of words. And don't forget, Chris Jericho and The Rock's rivalry, their few dates late back to all the way into '99. When first Jericho first made his debut on Monday Night Raw, made his debut in the company. That night he went to The Rock on August the 9th, 1999 there. That's really one of the most remarkable segments, and you're gonna remember for years and years to come and be like, oh, this is probably got to be one of the most top five greatest debuts of any superstar of all time. It really is. Finally, Jericho wanted to be the big star, and to be the big star, you got to be the champion, and to be the champion, you got to beat one of the best in the company at the time, and that is the great one, The Rock. So going on mercy here, we're live at the Savage Center in St. Louis, Missouri, with 15,647 fans there on October 21st, 2001 here. Of course, you got the main event being Austin defending the third championship against Kurt Angle, and even Alliance member Rob Van Dam showed their match up here. We had this undercard match that people don't really talk about. Again, this is very big, but yeah, Chris Jericho challenged The Rock for the WWE Championship here. This was a pretty good match. This match seemed evenly back and forth here. You know, even though Chris Jericho did bring Chan and kind of cheated here with which made it look like a cloud question finale win by Chris Jericho, which evidently Miz would adopt that finishing move as his finisher. And surprisingly enough, Chris Jericho won the match and wins the WWE Championship here. It made it seem like at the time what Jim Ross said and Paul said in the commentary, oh, Chris Jericho finally wins the big one, defeating the Rock for the championship. Who the hell thought it was going to happen? But I think as the Jericho fans at the time, really happy about the fact that Jericho was a world champion, even though it was WCW, but he was still part of WWE at the time. I think the fans would have still loved to have like seen The Rock still be the champion, in a way because it really seemed like The Rock more leading Chris Jericho. It just seemed like Chris Jericho was all by himself. He was still a team player at WWE, but it seemed like to me and other Jericho fans at the time that Chris Jericho was still all by himself during that time period. So well, it's still pretty cool to see Jericho win a world championship, much less the WWE championship, being The Rock. Even though he would defeat The Rock by any means necessary, he still got the job done. So to me, that was pretty amazing. My book. Excuse me, sorry about that. So, but yeah, evidently, if Chris Jericho and The Rock would defeat the Dudley Boys, I think next time The Rock becomes the tag team championship before losing it this the past SmackDown that's during that same week. But man, but it seemed like Chris Jericho was swimming in gold at that time. But even though some fans really did say that championship was a fluke here, he really had to put his where his mouth is. Chris Jericho would evidently get the Rock a rematch on the following Monday night on Raw, October the October the 29th, I believe, Monday Night Raw. And even though Chris Jericho did lose a match and The Rock would regain back the WWE Championship, Chris Jericho was still a team player. Even when they made the ultimate challenge for the Survivor Series main event for WWE to challenge ECW's and WCW's The Alliance to a match where the losing team, this is going to be a traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination matchup here, but the losing team would go out of business forever. I can't think of a match that happened before this time period, or after this time period, that there were the biggest of the stakes on the line here. Losing team, their company will be out of business forever. This is pretty crazy. This is so surreal. That to the point we had the team of The Rock, Chris Jericho, Kane the Undertaker, and The Big Show challenging Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, and even the WCW owner Shane McMahon in the matchup here. This, without a shadow of a doubt, this has to be one of the most biggest important matches in WWE's history. The one that WWE had lost, there will be no WWE today. I guarantee you that. There will be no WWE today. So this was a really huge challenge. And Jericho, come on, this is probably a challenge that where he saw if he was on the winning side, things were really going to be looking out for Chris Jericho at the time here. You know, which was crazy. Whoever thought of a match where two wrestling companies or three, including ECW, was on the line? Like, this is pretty crazy. It really is. Oh man! But before we even get to Survivor Series, we would stop in Manchester, England, at the Manchester Arena for the WWF Rebellion pay-per-view event, with 15,612 fans there. And with the tagline Rebellion divided, well, Manchester divided, sorry, all because there were half the fans there for the WCW, vast fans there for WWE. Even though this was a WWE event here, but it's still pretty cool here. Actually, right before this event, actually, Jericho was still the WWE champion. I'm sorry, I got the times mixed up here. Because Jericho would defend that championship against Kurt Angle and retain it in 14 minutes 55 seconds. So pretty much there. I think the next man on Raw is where he lost it to The Rock. The Rock evidently did win the WWE championship back. So yeah, pretty good matchup though overall to see here. So yeah, really good event. Then we go to the Survivor Series on November the 19th, November the 18th, sorry, 2001 here from the Greensboro Coliseum complex with 10,142 fans there. Even though it seemed like a small tennis record for one of probably the most important Survivor Series of all time, it was still on the line here. I mean, this man, we saw Edge unifying the WCWF title and the WWF title together here. We saw Dudley Boys unify the WCW and WWE Tag Team Championships here, defeating Hardy Boys inside that steel cage. We saw a test win an immunity battle royal that cannot be fired no matter what company goes up here. And we saw Trish Stratus win the WWE Championship in his six-pack challenge, her first WWE Championship. A lot of things happened in this event here, but we got to the event. Team WWF versus Team Alliance with everything on the line. This was surely going to be a feud that many of us are going to remember for a long time. Of course, everyone Shane eliminated by, I guess, every that have taken with their finisher. Then so we see the Big Show eliminated here. And the next time we saw Kane get eliminated there. And I think, you know, Booker T there eliminated next. Then Rob Van Dam, then The Undertaker. And really it came down to Chris Jericho and Rob Van, I guess, Stone Cold Steve Austin Kurt Angle here. Was he currently eliminated next by miscommunication? Chris Jericho eliminated next. This is where I thought Chris Jericho was slowly turning heel without that I'd be planting the seeds here. He would still knock out The Rock with that, I don't know, Skull Crusher finale again, that finisher. To make it seem like, oh shit, WWE's gonna win, Austin's gonna win, and WWE's gonna be no more. This is where I thought things took for a twist here. I kind of figured WWE was trying to go in that direction and make Chris Jericho heel. Even though Kurt Angle did come after, hit Austin with championship belt, Rock hits the rock bottom, Rock gets the 1, 2, 3, making sure that the WWE will be intact forever. And WCW and ECW are no more. Bye bye. See you later forever. Done and done. WWE, the company, the business that we all know and love is still intact and will be for many years to come till to the very day. I'm happy about that business. Next time Raw, of course, Ric Flair makes his debut in WWE or after some 10 years or so, announces that he's partnered with Mr. Man at the Shane and Stephanie sold their stock of the company, making Mr. Man and Ric Flair 50-50 owner of the WWE. That's pretty damn crazy. It really is. Announcing that at WWF Vengeance in 7-1 here, replacing the Armageddon pay-per-view event, there'll be a four-man tournament to decide, unifying the not WWF Championship, but now calling it the World Championship, held by The Rock, and WWE Championship held by Austin to decide the first ever undisputed champion. It's pretty amazing. It really is. Undisputed champion. So we get to Vengeance. And we saw in the first match up there, because this match would happen side by side by side, and all in one night. Now, Stone Cold Steve Austin would defeat Kurt Angle one-on-one here to retain the WWE Championship here in 14 minutes and 55 seconds. Next up, we will see Chris Jericho defeat The Rock. That's mind you, this is the second time Chris Jericho defeated The Rock for World Championship in 19 minutes and 5 seconds. It will come down, no rest to worry. That Jericho celebrating the world title win. That glass shatters. Stone Cold Steve Austin music hits, and then we have ourselves a unification match for both the WWE Championship and the World Championship. They extended friends by Booker T. That was Clint Austin through the table, into his kick, and little friends by Mr. Man, help Chris Jericho defeat Austin to become WWE's first ever undisputed championship here. This is pretty surreal here. Jericho has probably had one of the greatest years out of any wrestler in any career in WWE here. Ends the year, begins the year by feuding with Benoit for the Intercontinental Championship, ending the year by winning the the World Championship and WWE Championship. Fuse was scheduled to make him the first ever undisputed championship. He can have the accolade of saying that he defeated both Rock and Austin back to back in the same night to become WWE's first ever undisputed champion. It's pretty amazing. I think this is the part where the company really trusted Chris Jericho at the time to, step up and be that number one guy. And Jericho certainly did that. And Jericho was a heel, kind of like a bad guy. Not kind of, well, pretty much fully a bad guy. I really appreciated the fact that, WWE decided to make Chris Jericho the champion. This is pretty damn cool. I loved it. I really did. So, Chris Jericho being the undisputed champion would always be remembered as WWE's first undisputed champion. This is pretty amazing. I love it to the fullest extent. So, like I said, I was a big Jericho fan. Even though he's back, I was actually stoked for Jericho to win the champion. It was something different, other than seeing Rock or Austin become world champion or currently go. We see Chris Jericho. Because technically, this is Chris Jericho's first world champion win, the first WWE championship win, actually. Aside from him, that he's supposed to win the championship from Triple H on April 2000, Monday Raw episode, that claimed that never happened. But Chris Jericho won the championship on Avengers 2001. They really made up for that. It really said that Chris Jericho is now your top guy. Deal with it, So it's pretty amazing. I really loved it. This was a really amazing finish to your 2001 here. Oh man. And even finished championship against Austin and he started steel cage match on the second to last Raw of 2001 here and would retain it too. Chris Jericho was mainly the guy. He was the top guy in the company at the time, holding the prestigious championship. And the fact that there was two world championship belts, so he can walk around and show off and be like, "Yeah, I'm the world champion, ha ha ha," all you ass clones. Like, it's pretty amazing here. What a year Chris Jericho's had here. We'll be right back and we'll put a conclusion episode about the year of Jericho. The year of Jericho. All right, we are back with this episode of Put a Pin on This. And you really gotta think about it. Let's say, okay, 1998 was the year of, for anybody really like Triple H, Rock, Austin, Mick Foley. The year 2000 was pretty much the year of Kurt Angle. You really gotta believe that 2001 was a year of Chris Jericho to the point where Chris Jericho became, well, Hardcore Champion, Tag Team Champion, Color Champion, WWE Champion, and the Undisputed Champion. This is a pretty freaking amazing year if you really think about the year of Chris Jericho. This is really freaking amazing. You really gotta appreciate everything Jericho has done, especially for having his raising feud with Benoit, to having his feud with Regal, to the feuding, well, becoming tag champion with Chris Benoit, feuding against the Alliance with Team WWF, and then winning the World Heavyweight Championship, or WWE Championship, and becoming undisputed champion in the end. It's really amazing here. Like I love this do this episode. I love Chris Jericho all the time. Anything about Chris Jericho really impresses me. My favorite song of Jericho is, of course, Judas, his current AEW theme song that everybody just sings to the ring is freaking amazing. That's never gonna be old ever. Him doing the list and win that famous jacket and scarf to all these stupid idiots he's talking about. It is really amazing. You know, I'm surprised to announce it though. That next week's full episode, that this is gonna be so surreal. I may be thinking about this way too early here. I'm gonna be talking about the history of WWF No Way Out pay-per-view event. That's right. Next week it's gonna be focusing on WWF No Way Out here throughout when it started back in 1998, all the way through. I was saying 1999, but I also got to talk about 2012 as well. So but yeah, history of No Way Out. This great matches, moments, everything. 'Cause No Way Out was a pay-per-view that I missed, and I really want to talk about that as well. That was gonna be really cool here. WWE's No Way Out. Well, was Remember No Way Out's pay-per-view event. Talk about this period, and behind it, it's gonna be so surreal. Now I want to thank everybody for listening to this full episode of the God Have Heart Wrestling Podcast by your Trilogy My Horns about the year of Jericho. in 2001 was gonna be so cool, so surreal. And that's what we talk about the former pay-per-view No Way Out. I hope you guys have a incredible Thursday. Again, I'm glad this episode with you guys, and we'll see you later. Everybody have a good Thursday. Be safe out there.